Welcome everyone to Module 1. Today we're going to be looking at how to measure with a specific focus on how to measure in healthcare. Measurement is an essential part of chemistry and definitely a really important part of applying our knowledge of chemistry in the field, which is what you're going to be doing as a trained nurse. So when we are dealing with any quantities, how do we understand these better? We do have a value, but we also have a unit. Keeping these two together and individually in mind throughout any calculation you do in chemistry and in nursing is really essential. And in this series of videos in Module 1, we're going to be looking at how to understand different units, how to convert from one unit to another, how to understand accuracy and precision, and also how to track values in a more significant way. So I hope you enjoy. Please reach out if you have any questions, and we'll go ahead and get started. To get started in chemistry, we're going to be looking at how to measure with confidence. Chemistry is fundamentally about understanding matter, for which the quantity is really significant because we want to deal with real-world settings just like nursing. So how do we measure with confidence, and how do we understand the different types of measurements we might be making? So to get things started, really fundamental, every measurement is not just a number. And if there's one real primary thing I would love to see you take from this course, it's that we don't want to just report a bare number when trying to describe something. Yes, the number notes the scale, but without the unit, the number is really meaningless, right? If someone's asking how much aspirin is in our dosage, and we say 325, that could be 325 pounds, it could be 325 milligrams, it could be 325 grams, but those values are vastly different when they concern the actual amount of aspirin. This is 325 milligrams, that's the amount that fits in this small pill. Understanding the unit and the quantity together is essential for any measurement that we want to deal with. And of course, this matters in healthcare a lot, and I think that you can interpret why. We have certain common measurements that we use. You're going to see them over and over again, but I would say that understanding what unit we're dealing with is 100% fundamental. No, you're not going to see different aspirins that have like 325 pounds, but you may see grams and milligrams depending on what exactly you're dealing with. We use those different units in part to make the numbers more palatable, easier to understand, more of a counting number, and tracking what unit they correspond with is completely essential to making sure that patients get the amount of whatever they are trying to receive that they really do need. So let's look at an example. So let's say that a pediatric patient needs 0.5 milligrams of a medication. And we're going to look at further examples in this course where this 0.5 milligrams could be given as dissolved medication in a solution, it could be given as a pill, it could be given in a variety of ways. But in the end, this is some type of chemical, and we need to give the patient 0.5 milligrams. Now, what if the nurse misplaces a decimal point and instead gives 0.05 milligrams? Well, this would only be a tenth of the required dosing. Again, it's really important to watch what we're looking for. And note that this 0.5 milligrams versus 0.05 milligrams, this type of error could come from mistaking the unit as well. Really essential to make sure that the unit and the value are taken into account together. Okay, what if it's 5 milligrams instead of 0.5? Well, similar problem, but now we could have, a real overdose. I think that both of these problems are really important to watch because if some medication is given but it seems ineffective, it raises questions on whether medication was given at all, which could lead to uncertainty, which is, also just as bad. So, maybe not just as bad, but it is not good, right? Measuring properly is essential for nursing. Another example, right? IV flow rates. This often is a way that we administer drugs over time, or just saline over time, right? We have an IV bag. It contains 1,000 milliliters of saline, and there's an ordered rate, which is basically how fast will the saline drip from the bag to administer into the patient. And the ordered rate is 100 milliliters per hour. This is to say that every hour, 100 milliliters will flow out of the bag. If the rate was 200 milliliters per hour, then it would be 200 milliliters over the course of an hour. And, obviously after a few hours have passed, the bag may need to be replaced. The nurse miscalculates, sets to 10 mils per hour versus 100, and again, the wrong measurement and interpretation of what is being used will result in some problems. And again, with the units, this matters a lot because maybe someone orders 100 milliliters per hour, but maybe the bag is marked in different units. Maybe for some reason it's marked in ounces, or maybe for some reason it's marked in liters with fractions of milliliters on it. Being able to interpret that these are both volume units is something that we're going to be looking at very much so in this course. Again, in this chapter, we're going to learn how to measure and report numbers safely. These are skills that you'll use every day as nurses or allied health professionals. Really, really important. While there are a lot of measured, pre-mixed things in hospitals, it's still important to know the foundational way that these things were combined, especially if you end up wanting to practice nursing somewhere where these tools may not be always available.